Hi everyone, welcome to this week's lesson on standard form. So this is an important topic in Foundation GCSE Maths. Not a long one, not one too difficult to grasp, but yeah, an important one nonetheless. So let's get started. So what is standard form? So a standard form is when we have a number written in this type of format. So here we've got 5 times 10 to the power of 7. And there's a few things we have to look at when we have a number written like this. So first of all, the front number. So this number 5, this number highlighted in red, we're going to call this our front number. And the important thing about this is this number must be between 1 and 9 inclusive. So it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or any number that kind of falls within that range. So it can be 3.56, for example. It can be 1.78. You get the point. Our standard form is always going to feature times 10. So it's going to be times 10 to the power of something. So we covered powers in lesson 11. So if you're not too sure what this kind of notation means, then go back and check out lesson 11. That'll make it a lot clearer as to what I mean when I say to the power of. So it's always going to feature times 10, and then finally our actual power. So the reason we have a power, this number tells us which way the decimal point moves. So this is going to be a lot obvious when we go through our example in the next slide. But all we have to remember for now is that when this number is positive, that means our standard form is representing a large number. And when this number is negative, our standard form is representing a small number. So all standard form is another way of writing numbers. So let's go through an example. So if we've got express 52,600 in standard form. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to write 52,600, but we're going to write it with the decimal point, so 52,600.00. And what we're going to do is we're going to move this decimal point until this number falls between 1 and 9. And that's going to make the front number, so that number in red that we talked about on the previous slide, that's going to make the front number for our standard form. So let's move our decimal point. So we can see here that in order for this number is obviously way bigger than 9. So we need it to fall between 1 and 9. So our decimal point has to move to the left, because every time it moves to the left, this number decreases by a factor of 10. So let's see how many times this number has to move. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we move the decimal point 4 times, then we get 5.26, because our decimal point falls between this 5 and 2. So we can see that obviously this is between 1 and 9 inclusive. So this is going to be the front number of our standard form. And we can see that the decimal jumped 4 times. So we're going to put this all in standard form now. So 5.26 is going to be our front number. Times 10, like I said, that's always in a standard form. And the power of 10 is 4, because our decimal point moved 4 times. And the last thing to note is that this power is positive. See, we don't write the plus, but this is actually plus 4. And the reason it's plus 4 is because our front number here is a lot smaller than our original number. In other words, our original number is a lot larger than our front number. You see, 52,600 is a lot larger than 5.26. That's why our power is positive. So anytime our original number, so the number we're trying to represent, is larger than our front number, our power is going to be positive. So let's look at this example now. So we've got express 0.0000325 in standard form. So we're going to follow the same process. So we're going to move the decimal point to get this number between 1 and 9. That's going to be the front number of our standard form. So this time, instead of moving to the left, which is going to make the number smaller, we can see that this number is a lot smaller than 1. So we don't want to actually make this number a lot bigger. So we're going to make it bigger by moving to the right, because every time we move to the right, we increase the value of the number by a factor of 10. So let's see how many times we have to move to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we move 5 times, and that gives us 3.25. So now we can see that this number falls between the 1 and 9, that rule we need for our front number. So that's going to be the front number of our standard form. Then we're always going to put our times 10, and we're going to put a 5 for our power. And that's because our decimal point moved 5 times. But you can see here that this power is negative. And the reason this power is negative is because our front number, so now our original number is a lot smaller than our front number. So because our original number is smaller than our front number, our power is going to be negative. So that's how we decide whether the power is going to be positive or negative. So now we're going to do the reverse. So express 5.34 times 10 to the minus 3. So this time we start with a standard form number as an ordinary number. So the first thing to know is that the power of 10 is negative. So we've got this negative 3 here. So that means that our original number, so the number that this is representing, is going to be smaller than our front number. So this tells us which way we need to move our decimal point. So we're going to start with 5.34. We notice that the power is 3. and we notice it's negative, so we know this number has to get smaller. So in order for this number to get smaller, we need to move our decimal point to the left, because every time we move to the left, our number reduces by a factor of 10. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, and our number becomes 0.00534. So what we do is we fill in the gaps here with zeros, and our decimal point is here, so 0.00534. So now we're going to talk about working out sums that include standard forms when we're multiplying and dividing. So there's a 3-step process really that we have to do. So we're going to take our front numbers and we're going to bunch them together. Then we're going to take our powers of 10 and we're going to bunch them together. And then we're going to use our rules of powers to work out the powers of 10 sum. So the rules of powers is something that we went over in lesson 11. So you can go back and check that out. And then number 3 is we're going to make sure our answer is still in standard form. So let's work through an example together. Find 4 times 10 to the power 3 multiplied by 2 times 10 to the power 4. So we're just going to follow our process that we just went through. So firstly, we're going to bunch our front numbers together. So our front numbers here are 4 and 2. So we're going to bunch them together, put them in their own bracket. Then we're going to bunch our powers together. So 10 to the power 3, 10 to the power 4. We're going to put them in their own bracket and we're going to multiply them. We're going to work out our front numbers. So 4 times 2 equals 8. And then we're going to work out how to simplify this bracket. So we're going to use our rules of powers here. So whenever we have two numbers that are to the power of, so we have 10 to the power 3 and 10 to the power 4, and we're multiplying them, all we do is we add the powers together. So 10 to the power 3 times 10 to the power 4 becomes 10 to the power of 3 plus 4. So simplifying this all down, we get 8 times 10 to the power 7. And then we're going to do our check to make sure our final number is still in standard form. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to check to see if our front number is between 1 and 9 inclusive. It is, because it's 8. We're going to check for our times 10. And we're going to check for our power of 10 as well. So 8 times 10 to the power 7 is the answer to 4 times 10 to the power 3 multiplied by 2 times 10 to the power 4. So let's work through a divide now. So find 9 times 10 to the power 7 divided by 3 times 10 to the power 4. So we're going to follow the same process. We're going to bunch our front numbers together. So we got 9 and 3. So 9, this time it's a divide because divide is in the middle here. So 9 divided by 3. And then we're going to bunch our powers of 10 together. 10 to the power of 7 divided by 10 to the power of 4. We'll work out our front numbers. So 9 divided by 3, of course, gives us 3. And then we're going to work out our powers of 10. So using another rules of powers, whenever we've got two numbers that are to the power of, so 10 to the power of 7 and 10 to the power of 4, and we're dividing them, instead of adding the powers, we subtract the powers. So 10 to the power of 7 divided by 10 to the power of 4 becomes 10 to the power of 7 minus 4. Simplify this all down, we get 3 times 10 to the power of 3, and we check to see if this is still in standard form. So it is, because our front number is between 1 and 9 inclusive. We have our times 10, and our times 10 is to the power of something. So that's going to be it for our lesson on standard form. Next week we're going to start looking at algebra, so simplifying algebraic terms, something that's going to come up over and over again within the GCSE spec. So be sure to check that out. Thanks for watching everyone, speak to you soon.